A major snowstorm is headed for the country's northeast. The system hit Oklahoma on the weekend, dumping a heavy load of snow across the state. Some areas in New England can expect to see over a foot of snow and blizzard-like conditions. Winter storm watches and alerts have been posted along the East Coast, and there are some changes to the forecast that could have major implications for big cities. For more, I want to bring in CBS News meteorologist and climate specialist Jeff Berardelli. All right, so Jeff, where is the storm now?
All right, so the storm is located about 1,000 miles away from the big cities of New York, Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., and Boston, but it is headed in that direction. It dumped some fresh powder in Oklahoma today, about 6 inches in some places. This is now heading to the east, and because of that, and because we think it's going to get stronger, we think that we're going to see, a foot to 2 feet in some areas. Winter storm warnings out for most of the Northeast right now. And in the pink, those are winter weather advisories for a mix of snow, ice, and rain. So it's going to be a big mess. We think there are going to be a lot of power outages and also obviously very treacherous travel if you're going to be traveling up and down the eastern seaboard.
So how has the storm's trajectory changed, Jeff?
It's going to move a little further to the north, and because of that, it's going to allow a little bit more warm air into the system, meaning that we're going to see more mixing in places like D.C., Philadelphia, and even up to New York City. It's also going to push the snow further to the north. That means upstate New York, really far up, and Vermont and New Hampshire, you're going to see snow. So we'll show you that right now. There's a storm kind of moving through the Rockies and now into the Plain States. That dip in the jet stream is going to be picking up moisture from the Gulf of Mexico and from the Atlantic Ocean. But watch that warm air. You asked how things have changed. Well, this cold air is going to try its hardest to kind of hang tight with high pressure located here in Canada. But it looks like there's going to be enough warm air to get into Philadelphia and even New York City to change it over to sleet for a time, especially in Philadelphia, to a lesser degree in New York City. So it's not going to be pure snow. The heaviest snow is also going to be pushed a little further north by that push of warm air from the south. So let's take it hour by hour and show you when you can see that snow to develop. So Indianapolis tomorrow morning, Columbus, Ohio tomorrow morning as well. Notice it gets into Washington, D.C. late in the morning, but it's already mixing, or at least close to mixing, by around the noontime. Philadelphia, heavy snow during the afternoon at 3 o'clock, and then it moves into New York City as well. Look at that. State College, heavy snow. Scranton, heavy snow. Into Hartford as we head through the evening hours and knocking on Boston's door by the middle of the evening as well. Meanwhile, New York City, very heavy snow mixing with sleet. Notice this wind off the ocean beginning to pump in a little bit of warmer air. But by the way, the winds are going to be gusty. Blizzard-like conditions, near zero visibility in places like New York, because gusts should be 40, 45 miles an hour. It will be a mixture in places like Long Island, extreme southeast part of New England. Very heavy snow, Boston, Hartford. There we are Thursday at 7 a.m. Changes back to snow in New York and Philadelphia for a period of a few hours before it eventually tapers down. And everything should end in places like Boston, say, by the early to mid part of the afternoon. But it's going to be quite a snowstorm for this early in the season.
I mean, can we talk details? Which areas are going to see the most snow and how much are we talking?
Well, if you're in upstate New York, if you're in central Pennsylvania, you are going to get walloped by this storm. So anybody in the white, State College, Scranton, maybe as far south as Williamsport and Harrisburg, 20, 25 inches of snow, maybe even more, maybe as far north as Binghamton. That's where the heaviest snow is going to be. That extends into northwest New Jersey and parts of the Hudson Valley as well that are likely to see 12 to 20 inches of snow. Now, Philadelphia, probably 6, 7, 8 inches, somewhere in that range. New York City, probably 8 to 10, 11 inches of snow or so, but just outside of the city, it's over a foot. And New England, pretty similar to that, probably in and around a foot of snow in places like Hartford, maybe almost a foot, maybe not quite, but maybe almost a foot, even in Boston, Massachusetts. So it's going to be quite the storm for this early in the season for sure.
So then, Jeff, how does this storm compare to other powerful winter storms that we've seen in the past?
Well, for the past couple of years in New York City, last 2 years, there's been basically no snow. Last winter, many of the major cities, places like Philly, Washington, D.C., and New York City, had one of their least snowiest winters on record. So this is long overdue. How does this compare to other snowfalls in the past? Well, for December, this is a doozy. This is bigger than most snowstorms before Christmas. Usually after Christmas, that's when we see our bigger snowstorms, January and especially into February. So it's early in the season for this, not unheard of, not unprecedented, but again, somewhat on the rare side, especially totals like this, some places seeing over 2 feet of snow. So be careful shoveling it. It's going to be a wet, heavy snow. Watch out for power outages, especially close to the New England coast.
Yes, get your flashlights, get your batteries, get everything ready. All right, Jeff Berardelli for us. Jeff, thank you.
You're welcome.